JamieStarr here for the New World News Network. On this episode, I'm going to get into a sort of follow-up on Talib Kweli's Twitter tirades. I had some info sent to me from a viewer in the comments, which I always appreciate, viewers getting involved, sharing their stories and everything like that. So we'll get into all that, but other things I just want to say real quick. I noticed Great Spear started his own YouTube page. I saw our interview conversation on there, so make sure you check that out. That guy is very knowledgeable on lots of different subjects, whether it's the occult and astrology or the history of race relations and stuff. He definitely knows what he's talking about. So everyone check out his channel, subscribe to his channel. And also, I know I haven't been putting out much videos recently. I've been working on some music. I have a new album. Bam! Right there. You can find it on my label's webpage, echoscaperecords.bandcamp.com. Whole bunch of instrumentals. If anyone hears anything they want to use for their videos or anything like that, go for it. Just shoot me an email so I can help promote it. But, these songs are out there. I've actually already had people hit me up about collabs, 36 tracks, all different styles. Someone described it as beautiful, as if I had taken prone and dipped them into a vat of post-trap African dream pop. So very interesting. I think it's a lot of like electronic R&B. Some of it's a little more upbeat, electropop, but yeah, definitely, me doing my thing. Synth sounds, shiny sounds, R&B grooves, and everything like that. So check out the new project. So, Talib Kweli. The joke in this one, in the first thing, is the whole reason why I was like, I really gotta cover this. If everyone Talib Kweli called a Nazi or a white supremacist on Twitter were actually one, we would be living in the world of the man in the high castle. And it's true. I mean, it's like every other word out of his mouth, if he doesn't know what to say, it's white supremacy. So, Kweli's definition of white supremacy usually begins where his own opinion ends, and consequently he is very entertaining to follow on Twitter. Not only does he believe that he lives in a world filled to the brim with Nazis, but he takes time out of his day to spiritedly argue with those Nazis, no matter how small their follower count or Pepe-filled their avatar. Here's a not quite comprehensive list of the people Kweli believes are white supremacists. Disclaimer, I have on occasion rocked out to Black Star. Former GOP presidential candidate and neurosurgeon Dr. Ben Carson. Ben Carson is also a white supremacist. Why do white supremacists expect us to respect coons? We don't. Philosopher and neuroscientist Sam Harris. Sam Harris is a white supremacist. You showed up to cape for him, so you won too. Stop caring for white supremacy. A lot of people connected with neurology, actually. Noticing a trend, many of these white supremacist accounts claim to be neuroscientists. Why? Ex-Muslim activist and columnist Majid Nawaz. This guy is very clearly being used for anti-Muslim propagandists. White supremacists love Majid Nawaz. That's clear. I mean, how does Talib know this? Is he on like some white supremacist newsletter or something? It's so funny to me when people like Talib Kweli accuse everyone of being a white supremacist, and I've lived my life 30 some odd years. I went to one kid's house as a teenager, and it was like when I was with a bunch of friends. We were, early 20s, just being knuckleheads and bullshit. And this guy had up a huge Confederate flag in his house. And I mean, at that point, I was so brainwashed, I saw the Confederate flag as if it was a Nazi flag. And, I was like, oh, this guy must not like black people. And that was that. Like, that's my only encounter with white supremacy. Like, other than that, I've never encountered anyone who's really racist, never really anyone, no organization whatsoever. I mean, so it really boggles me because, I mean, even the KKK, for the most part, is, like, defunct. So when people are so adamant about, oh, it's everywhere, it's in the systemic, institutional, it's woven into the history of society and the residual impacts of the effects that last through the now. No, just stop. Just stop. It's not that deep. People mention Chicago. Chicago, another white supremacist tell, mentioning Chicago to deflect from weak points. How about mentioning white supremacy to deflect from having no points? So, you have this, which I think is just hysterical. And then, of course, on the other side of the coin, Talib Kweli and the beautiful struggle to constantly call bullshit. And this just humored me. Talib Kweli, a super MC, businessman, an educated educator, and probably a government agent. He admits he's at the White House, on and off. So I think, Obama was probably a fan of his music, probably knows he's not doing well musically right now, not even Beyonce or Rihanna are, and probably was like, hey man, I'll pay you a couple $1,000 to just promote this black liberation theology stuff on Twitter. Get into beef, so, we'll hype it up, we'll do some news articles, whatever. So, goes through how he's taken up I wouldn't say he's taken up journalism, and social media to further his impact upon the art form and everything. So it goes through a little bit of his background, the point that went missing, a near 3,000-word essay detailing his opinions on Ferguson, Missouri debacle, and his subsequent appearance on CNN. That stuff I covered in my other video where he was pissed on Lemon, didn't even know who he was. 1 month later, Kweli penned, in defense of Miss Hill, it's finally time to stop letting folks from outside our community tell us how to feel about Lauryn Hill. Another nearly 3,000-word essay in defense of Hill and her misconceived public persona and limited artistic output since forever changing music. Honestly, I wouldn't even say she's forever changed music because kids nowadays have no idea who she is. And, she did almost like a revival thing. Like, I would say she paved the way for Amy Winehouse to go full blast into a throwback sound, but Lauryn Hill didn't do anything groundbreaking. To me, she just did something really, really solid, which is more important on some levels. If you can put out a solid album of hits, you don't need to create a new style or a new sound or anything like that. So, let's see. In defense of his opinion and his overall societal views, Kweli consistently responds to differing opinions in real time, using logic and facts to present his opinions and rebuttals. The award for best Twitter trollinator is Talib Kweli. If you come to him, you better be ready because he is not having it, and I love it. And of course, all he does is just call everyone a white supremacist. And the funny thing about this article is right here. Often wielding an intimidating vocabulary and unbreakable grip on historical accuracies and fallacies, Kweli has repeatedly shown he's not above cutting to the core of his adversaries, referring to his male attackers as bitches and hoes, and his female antagonists as stupid and foolish. Oh man, you hear that? That's that intimidating vocabulary and unbreakable grip. Bitches, hoes, stupid, foolish, mind blown. I mean, that is, oh my god, the bar is just, right up here. Don't even step to Mr. Kweli, 'cause you might be a bitch. I mean, how mindless do you have to be to write this article? Following Kweli on Twitter is both hilarious theater and typically a high-level education in history, religion, politics, and race relations. Oh my god, yeah, maybe if you're like a high school or a middle school dropout and don't know shit about shit. Kweli is a proud father, husband, man, and artist, and most likely in that order, he stands by and backs up his beliefs with undeniable truths, often exposing historical ignorance, racial, religious intolerance, and political demagogues. Kweli is a master MC and perhaps an even better educator. I wish there was an example of this. Like, you were talking like this guy is just spouting revelations, and it's like, it's not like you can be like, oh, well, Kweli was questioned on this and came forth with the facts of this. I mean, your example of how groundbreakingly intelligent this guy is he calls people bitches and hoes, and to everything else it's white supremacy. I mean, for fuck's sake. As I write this, Kweli is in the middle of a spirited debate regarding the historical mass genocides committed in the name of Christianity as compared to Islam, calling trolls liars, fragile, and idiot. It's refreshing from an insight perspective, hilarious from the comedic perspective, and very necessary from a topical perspective. Here's the other thing he does, and I said this in my other video. Whiteness so fragile. Whiteness so masculinity is so fragile, and everything like this. And here's the thing that these people don't get. Is, again, if we want to talk logical here, you want to say that, women are oppressed by men, but masculinity is so fragile. You want to say blacks are oppressed by whites, but whiteness is so fragile. So what does that say about blackness? If something fragile can just oppress it and have it under its thumb, doesn't speak very well about you. Like, and this is the other thing I don't get, where it's, all this, white people mad recessive, whiteness so fragile, oh, they're holding us down. It's like, oh, so the fragile shit's holding you down. It's like you're being held down by a piece of glass and you're just too weak and stupid to just break it. I mean, that's what it is. This is the thing I hate the most. The majority of people who think they're advocating for African Americans, it's always reversed and inverted. Like, I was watching Colin Flattery talk about this. Great author. Check out his books, his YouTube channel. And he was talking, I know the one example is Ebonics. And then there's, the adding IQ points to IQ tests and stuff. Where he was like, they do these things for blacks where it's like, oh yeah, you don't need to learn English. We'll give you Ebonics and make that a recognized language. Oh yeah, IQ test, we'll just add some extra points up so you're bumped up. I mean, there's this attitude like, oh, well, we know you're not smart enough to learn English, so yeah, just say whatever you want to say and we'll make it official. Oh yeah, we know you're not smart enough to be graded like everyone else, so we'll just give you the extra woo-woo boost up. Like, that's not going to help anyone. It's never helpful for someone to think they're bigger and better than they really are. Modesty is a very good trait. So, Jewish rapper with Wu-Tang ties and his nasty Twitter beef over Israel. Jewish rapper, pro-Zionist, in separate songs and tweets, Remedy has called Kweli a fake activist and an anti-Semite, while Kweli has called Remedy a fake Jew and a devil. Only self-hating, Talib said that's why Remedy Ross is a fake Jew. Remedy said only self-hating ones and the ones who support BDS and the destruction of Israel. I rap for the 6 million. Never again. I assume that 6M is a Holocaust reference, which we all know that's a debatable number. So, you have this whole beef between him. Zionism is not self-determination, it's racism. Period. So Talib's beefing with him, and then here's the thing that I was sent by one of my subscribers. My recent Twitter beef with Talib Kweli. So Talib Kweli, a rapper I like and own several albums by, including the incredible Black Star album, has been going ham on Twitter. He's been tweeting on racial issues and BLM generally, and I agree with probably 75% of what he's been saying. I don't agree with that. I agree with maybe 5% of what he says. If that. But here's the other thing, is that these artists don't realize that, and it's because they're insulated in leftist kind of cults, they don't realize how quickly they can alienate their audience. Whether it's George Clooney, who came out speaking against Trump, and then had his movie bomb, Ghostbusters, You know, these things, they just fail left and right, and it's because these people are drawing a hard line in the sand and placing themselves on the side of it that will have negative economic repercussions. You know, because here's the thing. Conservatives think it's cool to have money. We're not the ones that think, oh, well, if you're poor, it's because you're a good person and you're oppressed by everyone and everything. That's the general leftist attitude, where there's like this altruism in being poor. I discussed this in my video with Lady Alchemy. So anyway, however, he's very quick to call people racist, white supremacist, coon, and other pejoratives based on nothing or for simply disagreeing with him. Look into Majid's work and you can realize attacking him is absurd. Well, in a Twitter discussion about racism, specifically, can black people be racist, Talib was making the claim that racism properly defined, meaning Marxist definition, is prejudice plus power equals racism. And I've brought this up numerous times. Power, that's a unit of measurement. Like, it'd be like saying prejudice plus milliliters equals racism. Milliliters of what? Water? Gasoline? Like, what sort of power are you? What do I have power over? I have power over if I move my arm up and down. I don't have power over you. Do I? Jump. Jump. No? Guess I'm powerless. I mean, that's how I always tell people when they're like, oh, well, you're white, so you have power plus privilege. I just, jump, nigga. Jump. Jump up and down for me then. I got the power. Show me how powerful I am. And then they start to realize how silly they sound. Anyway, only white folks can be racist. This is a common definition on college campuses and among the far left, but doesn't match up with dictionaries or what most people consider racism. For example, a black man referring to a Mexican as a wetback or spix is racist, period. Anyway, I got involved regretfully by simply posing a rhetorical question, not in any way confrontational. I was very short order labeled a white supremacist by Talib and receives a lot of hostile messages directed at me by Talib and some of his 1 million followers. Here's the exchange between Talib and myself, which I got screenshots, knowing it's easy to delete embarrassing tweets. # receipts. So here we see. So when my wife is called a gook by a black woman, not racism? Yes, that is racism. Asians are also oppressed by white supremacy. We should show solidarity, not bigotry. You see how mindless that is? Like so when a black person calls an Asian a gook, that's white supremacy? Okay. Interesting. Oh, and here's the other thing. You know, if anyone's attracted to any, and it's again, these people, oh, diversity, embrace everyone, fat acceptance, this, and that, and then if anyone likes it, and it's not a mirror image of what they are, because this is projected narcissism. That's my belief at this point. All this race stuff and everything else, it's no more than just projected narcissism. Like, people are so obsessed with themselves that they think everything has to do, oh, it's because my skin color, oh, it's because my pussy, oh, it's because of this. Like, interesting that you fetishize your Asian wife into an anecdote, though. White supremacists often do this. So again, just white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy. Like he's on a loop or something. You could program an AI, like that Tay AI from Microsoft, and it was like 1 billion times smarter and more innovative than Talib Kweli's dumbass. He should just get someone to write a code to stand in for him. How is he fetishizing his wife? Because he has one? Like, what? And they just use these terms, and people just, oh, that's right. How on earth am I fetishizing my wife? Yes, white supremacists often fetishize Asians, and dude was being a white supremacist. By asking a question. Like, do you see how dumb this is? Like, he's a white guy. Oh, he has an Asian wife. it must be because he's societally been conditioned to the cultural norms of the white supremacist cis capitalist patriarchy, and therefore an Asian woman can only be beautiful in his eyes if he fetishizes her. But I mean, I know this fucking babble like that, and that's the other thing about these people. They think they're so smart. And they don't realize that, like, when someone like me comes and approaches them, I already know everything they're gonna say. You're reading a script. These aren't your own thoughts. You've been... Racism equals power plus privilege. Say back to me, kids. Racism equals power plus privilege. Gold star, bitch. I mean, that's how you get to this point. No, he fucking wasn't. Provide evidence as requested. Like I already requested. How in any way was I being a white supremacist? I don't know, are you? You have been making many white supremacist talking points all day. You tell me. Because a white person opens his mouth to tell it, you're a white supremacist. Please cite an example of my white supremacy talking points. Mentioning her and her race in a debate about systemic oppression is an anecdote meant to distract. Fetishization. Talib Kweli is the most mindless person to ever try to pose as an intellectual. It just gets dumber and dumber because he can't be like, oh, well, maybe I was wrong on this one. Maybe I jumped the gun. Instead, he has to try to twist and maneuver and, oh, well, if you mention her race, then you're fetishizing her. So every time Talib mentions a white person, is he fetishizing them? Does he have a fetish for white supremacy? That's what I'm guessing. I think he has a fetish for it. No, it was mentioned to counter the claim that only whites are racist. You agreed that my wife was a victim of racism. Receipts? I'm still waiting for receipts. Yo, fucking stop, Talib. Honest, this is racist as shit. He's gone through and deleted all the hateful shit he said about me and my fetishized wife. LOL. Receipts. And that's what they do. They can't, he's not man enough to say, alright, well maybe I misspoke, maybe I jumped the gun, maybe I had to jump to a conclusion. Just delete it. Pretend it never happened. But we have things like this. This guy, smart enough to catch all the screenshots, smart enough to send it to me, so now you have this, and you're going to have another video showing how mindless this shit can get. Notice I didn't say a damn thing to provoke the man. In fact, he was in agreement with me for a minute. Then, for whatever reason, went off on me. I've since had to block him and report him to Twitter, but they've informed me that basically they don't care. I don't have a racist bone in my body, and anyone who knows me knows this. Being called a white supremacist by someone I admired stings, I gotta admit. More to the point, I never said anything to warrant such a charge, or could possibly be construed as racism in my question to Talib. And for what it's worth, he's still abusing Nawaz on Twitter. Yeah, this is his job. This is his full-time shtick now. He'll pop up, rap a few bars at a barbecue, and then go back to calling everyone white supremacists. I mean, when I asked him on Twitter, have you ever thought for a second that maybe Black Lives Matter is COINTELPRO? They're always in and out of in the White House and, organizing with the government. Seems like they're a government group. He says, I was just in Washington last Friday. Does that make me a government agent? And I said, it depends on the context of your visit, to which there was no response. So I think he is. I mean, I think he's so dumb, he could be being used as an agent and wouldn't even know. Like, I mean, if he's not getting paid by the government for his divide and conquer tactics, he should. He should print out his whole timeline and go to Obama and be like, look at what I'm doing. Like, what was it? Soros just gave $70-some-odd million to Black Lives Matter? Soros, cut Talib a check. He's doing charity work over here for your movement. Like, you might as well. So, just wanted to cover those things. Hope you all enjoyed. And check out Talib's timeline if you're ever looking for some ignorant fun.